Welcome to ACF Chef's Table webinar series. I'm Kiwi Hermans, Program Manager of Continuing Education here at ACF, and I'm excited to be here with you all today. Thank you for joining today's webinar on quiet luxury. For those unfamiliar with the American Culinary Federation, ACF, we are the leading organization for culinary professionals, offering education, certification, and a community for chefs and food service leaders. If you're not yet a member, today's webinar is a great example of the valuable resources we offer. Today, we'll be joining Chef Robert Grotha as he walks us through the concept of quiet luxury. Feel free to ask questions using the Q&A function at any time. Let's get started by sharing where you're tuning in from in the chat. Let's meet today's presenter. Born and raised in Kirkwood, Missouri, Chef Robert Grotha grew up in the restaurant business. Upon graduation from the University of Missouri, he moved to Charlotte, North Carolina to get his bachelor's degree in culinary arts from the University of Johnson and Wales. He then pursued degrees from the Culinary Institute of America. When he returned to St. Louis, he held culinary positions at Barnes Jewish Hospital, St. Louis Children's Hospital, the Boeing Leadership Center, and Parkway School District. Recently, Chef Robert brought home the gold medal for the team at Aberdeen Heights in the ACF sanctioned inaugural Senior Living Culinary Challenge. And at this time, I'll pass it over to Chef Robert. Take it away, Chef.
Thank you so very much, Kiwi. It's an honor to be here today, and I am so appreciative and grateful for the ACF and the American Culinary Federation hosting this webinar and giving us the platform to talk about quiet luxury for a little bit. So, bespoke moments that evoke a sense of transcendence. That's what quiet luxury means to me. And at this moment in my life, if you were to ask me what the most pinnacle example of quiet luxury would be, I would describe a breakfast with my beautiful wife and my two beautiful daughters and sitting there completely present, completely involved in that moment. We'd probably be eating brioche French toast on the buns, not the toast, because I misunderstood the assignment. We'd be sitting there watching the birds. We'd be listening to a beautiful album, probably The Secret Life of Walter Mitty live on vinyl, and just completely immersed in that moment. So when I say that, that doesn't define luxury as a specific ingredient. It doesn't define luxury as a technique or a chef or a culinary team or a kitchen or a dining room that you're in. It's about completely being present and completely being just sublime in that moment that you've been blessed with. My name is Chef Robert, and you're joining us live here at Aberdeen Heights in Kirkwood, Missouri. Aberdeen Heights is a PMMA community, and I am an executive chef for Cura Hospitality, who is part of the Elior organization. And I am so appreciative and grateful for you taking time out of your day to be here with us for this moment. So from the Umpqua River Valley and Klamath Falls all the way over to Woodbury, far over to Charlotte, North Carolina, all the way down to San Antone. I am so appreciative for you taking this moment to share with me so that I can talk about quiet luxury and what quiet luxury means to me a little bit. In today's fast-paced society, everybody is immediate. Everybody wants the Instagram and the TikTok and the flash and the, what moment can I capture to really embody this fast-paced excitement? My mom used to describe it as a flash in the pan. So nobody wants to be a flash in the pan. Nobody wants just that instant boom. There were studies done that say that our attention span lasts about 15 seconds. So you have 15 seconds to grab somebody's attention. Quiet luxury is kind of flipping it on its head and slowing down, getting back to our roots, focusing on technique, focusing on tradition, and taking time to completely immerse ourselves in the moment so that we lose track of time and we're completely present and aware of the excitement and the incredible opportunities that we have been blessed with. So as we get into it, I'll explain it a little further, but it wouldn't be true form if I didn't start off with a joke. For those of you that know me, they know that all of my presentations start off with a joke, so here it goes. I am an aspiring history buff, and over past weekend, I learned quite an interesting fact. In all of the history of the Canary Islands, never once has a canary stepped foot or landed on the island. The same holds true for the Virgin Islands. In the history of the Virgin Islands, never once has a canary stepped foot or landed on the Virgin Islands. So back to flash in the pan luxury. The first thing that came to mind when I heard quiet luxury was all of these gimmicky things that they have going on now. So I've seen these videos where front of the house comes out and they've got this steak in a briefcase. And it might be this 18-ounce beautiful ribeye steak that they come out and everybody's got sparklers and the smoke's going off and the flashing lights, and they open it up and they do one of these things and the gold's coming out of there. Somebody's got a branding iron, they brand it right there in front of everybody, and they charge you an astronomical amount for that steak, $250 to $300 for that steak. And people misinterpret that as luxury. To me, that's kind of cringe, right? That's a flash in the pan attempt at luxury that kind of detracts from the true sense of culinary luxury. So to break down quiet luxury, I defined it as bespoke moments that evoke a sense of transcendence. So quiet luxury to me emphasizes restraint, it emphasizes refinement, and it emphasizes intent over excess. Bespoke moments that are individualized, moments that are customized and curated to make you feel important, to make you feel seen, to make you feel heard. A great restaurateur from St. Louis, my hometown, is Danny Meyer. You may know Danny Meyer from the history-changing hospitality that he has been able to embody and teach and bestow upon his guests and residents that have been blessed to dine in his restaurants. But one of his famous sayings is, interpret every guest, every resident, every individual that's at your dining establishment as having an invisible sign around their neck. And that sign, although you can't see it, should read, make me feel important, make me feel special. And it's that if we can figure out what our clientele, what our residents, what our guests make them feel important, that's the true art of hospitality. And everybody receives hospitality and feels important in different ways. If I'm out to dinner with my beautiful daughters and beautiful wife, and the waiter or waitress comes out and they bring them crayons and they bring them coloring pads and they bring their food out first and they make sure that we've got rolls, and do they want chicken fingers? Do they want a quesadilla? Do they want a hamburger? I'll bring that out before the start of the meal. That way they're entertained. That way they've got something to keep them busy. And my wife, Janelle, and I can sit there and really enjoy that moment. That makes me feel important. Now, that might not make everybody feel important. Some people want to focus on what they have to do. They might have a laptop in front of them. They might want just some solace. They might want some quiet. They might want a place where they can get away from all the hustle and bustle of our society and enjoy a good cup of coffee and a slice of pie, or something that makes them feel valued and appreciated in that moment. Luxury can be experienced anywhere. Luxury can be experienced at 11 Madison Park in some of the best restaurants in the world. Luxury can be experienced at a Denny's. In the account that I'm blessed to work at, I am in a senior living community. Luxury abounds. Here at Aberdeen, one of my favorite examples of luxury is to walk in the front foyer and we have a baby grand piano. We have a resident, his name's Larry, and he sits up there and he plays piano. And there'll be a group of 8 to 12 to 15 residents that congregate there. And for that moment that Larry's playing piano, everything else, all the outside distractions, all the confusion, all the frustrations that is surrounding us in our society and in that world just melt away. And when you look at our residents' faces as Larry's playing piano, it's bliss, it's euphoria. It's an absolute sublime feeling where they are just immersed and transcendent in that moment because Larry's blessing us with that gift and that talent and the ability that he shares. He shares that at no cost. He shares that just for the pure joy and appreciation that it brings to him as he plays. And that's a mark of luxury. To invoke a sense, that's to just draw out. A lot of times it can be unexpected. One of my favorite things is watching old school front of the house waiters and waitresses create this magical experience. It's almost theatrical in nature. Somebody that's been doing it for 10, 20, 30 years, that's a lifer in the industry as the front of the house, they've got all the right words. They tell the best jokes. They're there to completely take care of whatever your needs are while that restaurant is blessed to have you dine there. And it's really, really interesting to watch it play. It's anticipating the needs of our guests and our clientele and our residents before they even at times realize that they may have those needs. Setting a steak knife down before your ribeye comes out. If you need an extra sauce or an extra condiment or something like that, forecasting and anticipating before I have to stand there and say, hey, can you bring me some Country Bob steak sauce for my steak? Can you bring me some béarnaise? Can you bring me some chimichurri? Those things are already brought to you. And those things are already demonstrated because it's saying you are the most important thing I have going on right now. You are the reason for me being here. You are the person that I want to completely make feel at home where you won't have a single need. Transcendence, moments that stand still, moments that completely make you forget about all the pain, the challenges, the confusion, the frustration, the news, and you're just completely at ease. And you're completely at the will of whoever's bestowing that hospitality upon you. Live music can do it. Great stand-up comics can do it. Cooking demonstrations done proficiently can do it. But when you're just at the will of whoever is guiding you along this journey, whether it be through their jokes, through their songs, or through the dishes that they're creating, just gives you a brief moment where you don't have to worry about all the outside things. You don't have to worry about the mortgage payment. You don't have to worry about, oh, did I pay my car insurance this month? Is my kid going to excel at school? Are they going to get in the daycare? Are they going to get in the kindergarten class that they want? And it just lets you completely embody yourself in the luxury that is hospitality. And 10 toes down. 10 toes down is just a saying that we've been using lately. And that's where prayer and perseverance meets dedication and discipline. God's blessed you with another day, gives you the opportunity to enjoy it and make the most of it and take advantage of it. And when you're blessed with those opportunities, seek out as much luxury as you can, right? Luxury doesn't have to cost a whole lot of money. Luxury can be free. Luxury can be listening to a baby grand piano playing. It can be anything. Just make sure you take time to be present and you take time to really dedicate yourself to the moment that you've been blessed with. Luxury is subjective, and quiet luxury is a return to many of the fine dining elements that have fallen to the wayside. I'd be hard pressed to figure out a restaurant in town that still does old school guerdon tableside service, where they bring out full fish and they break them down right there at the side of the table. Or they have the little burners and they'll sear little New Zealand lamb chops right in front of you tableside. And then they'll finish them with your choice. You want a mint chimichurri, you want the steak sauce, you want a béarnaise. And they do that right there at that tableside because it takes additional training, it takes additional equipment, it takes additional time, it takes additional discipline. And a lot of our society has pushed all of that to the wayside to capitalize on flipping tables as quick as they can, or expediting a process as quick as they can. So it's a return to our roots, a return to classic technique that this industry was built on. A tip of the hat to the great mentors, the chefs that have come before us. There's a Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young song, Almost Cut My Hair. And in that, he says, I don't know who I'm doing it for. I don't know why I'm doing it for, but I know that I need to pay it forward. I know that I need to continue this legacy of hospitality, of luxury. Who it's for, I don't know, but I'm going to keep doing it until the next generation takes that torch and runs with that baton. That's why it's hard to pinpoint exactly what luxury is. To some people, having and owning a Ferrari is luxurious. To some people, having and owning a Bugatti is luxurious. To some people, having and owning a Honda Civic that's reliable, that gets you to and from work, that can get your family to where you're going to be. That's luxurious. And that's why it's hard to define quiet luxury. It's not a thing. It's not an ingredient. It's not a material possession. It's a feeling and it's a vibe. And it's a beautiful thing when done right, but it takes time, it takes dedication, it takes energy, and it takes hard work to be able to do those things. There's so much loud noise being bombarded at us constantly in today's society that people forget that luxury can be the most beautiful, simple, quiet thing. It might be a nice book. It might be sitting by a fireplace and enjoying time doing a puzzle with your family. It can be anything. And quiet luxury is capitalizing on the less is more mentality. Um, it doesn't have to cost a penny, and people continuously lose sight of it. So make sure that you experience it as often as you can. Bringing quiet luxury to the plate. So in the hospitality world, in restaurants, it's investing in quality ingredients. It is making sure that we focus on quality and not quantity. It's excess over abundance. So making sure that we source and tell the story of the people that foraged those ingredients, the farmers that dedicated their lives to making sure we as chefs, as culinarians, as hospitality professionals have access to that. It's building those relationships. It's fostering those relationships where I can go and I can shake the hand of the person that actually put in the hard work, that woke up before the sunrise and made sure that they put in the energy, the time, and the dedication to provide me those turnips or those oysters or those black truffles or that caviar or those rutabagas. Anything that you've got that came from somewhere, and making sure that we stay as connected to our food as we can is going to emphasize that luxury to our clientele. I get a hard time a lot from a lot of my colleagues because I get lost in the romance. I want to tell the story. I want to capitalize on the hard work that went into those ingredients. And I'll give you an example. I am currently training for a competition that's going to be held in the end of June. And I have been working on defining a dish that I'm making. And for this dish, I had a seared chicken breast. And I have been blessed with a mentor that is helping me guide myself and my creativity through this competition. And Shane came to me and said, "Hey, your chicken breast is kind of meh." And I said, "Well, what would you do about it?" He goes, "Well, I know a few folks out of Joyce Farms, and they're out of North Carolina, and they have a phenomenal poulet rouge chicken breast." And he sent me a video, and I researched on it, and I got my hands on some of this product, and the quality of this product is exceptional. So we started bringing in whole chickens into our operation and breaking those down. We broke down 8 cut chickens. We deboned the thighs. We Frenched out and airlined out the chicken breast. And I have replaced my run-of-the-mill chicken breast with a super high quality poulet rouge Joyce Farm chicken breast. And during that process, I've educated my team. We are now, as opposed to buying 5-ounce prefab chicken breasts, breaking down whole chickens in our operation. We're breaking down 8 cut chickens, and we've got legs, we've got boneless thighs, we've got tenderloins, we've got airline breasts. And the quality that my residents here at Aberdeen are receiving went like this. The training that my team is getting by watching the process of those breaking down and breaking down those 8 cut chicken by themselves is helping them grow in their culinary abilities. It's providing better futures for them financially with upward growth potential. And it's creating a very high quality culture that our residents are benefiting from the quality of the product that we serve. It is more training. It is more work. There are more labor hours, but I've been fine tuning and watching my food cost budget by replacing this chicken breast. And I'm saving in excess of $5,000 a year on my upfront food cost by switching to a more high quality product. And it's amazing what that's doing for my operation. So I reached out to the guys at Joyce Farms and gals, and I wanted to say thank you. And they sent me a t-shirt, and their t-shirts are fantastic. They say, "Poulet rouge français," and there's a big old chicken right on the side of them. It's incredible marketing. I'm a sucker for a good t-shirt. So reach out to those guys. And that's just one example of how incorporating that quiet luxury into my operation here benefits everybody. Benefits my residents, benefits the team that's growing underneath of me, benefits the food cost, and benefits the entire operation and organization. So it's those little decisions as food cost and or operators in the hospitality industry, as chefs, as culinarians, as front of the house managers, that you need to reevaluate on a constant basis to see how you can do better, to see where you can make improvements, to see how you can continue to develop at the benefit of whoever you're blessed to serve. Simple plating is another thing that Quiet Luxury focuses on. So we have been lost in the age of gimmicks and phones and gels and moleculars and all of these things. I was blessed early on in my career to have a mentor when I was young and influential and wanting to follow these trends and learn and do this and that and the other. And he sat me down and he gave me a very important lesson. He said, "What I don't understand is your pursuit to alter ingredients." And I said, "What do you mean, chef?" He goes, "You want to take a tomato and then you want to dehydrate it. And then you want to turn it to a powder. And then you want to fortify it. And then you want to turn it into a foam. And then you want to take that tomato foam and put it over a piece of sea bass." And I go, "Yeah, that sounds awesome." And he goes, "Why not just source the most incredible quality tomato that you can buy? Meet the farmer, tell the story, tell about the heritage breed or the heirloom varietal of that tomato. Tell them it's a Cherokee purple, tell them it's a Lucky Tiger, and put that and incorporate that as an element into your dish. So as opposed to doing 6 or 7 steps away from that initial ingredient, you're highlighting and emphasizing the hard work through God's creation that provides you with this most beautiful product, and let it speak for itself. And don't gussy it up. Don't make it all these things that it doesn't have to be. Just capitalize on it and shine the spotlight on the incredible product that you have at hand. So that's one of my examples of trying to skip those gimmicks and focus on simple plating. The next is turning into a training ground. Quiet Luxury takes work. Quiet Luxury takes dedication. Quiet Luxury takes pushing your teams to a spot that might take them out of a complacent plateau. And through this process, you'll have to explain your why. Through this process, you'll have to tell the story. But through that change comes growth. And a lot of times there's some uncomfortability. There is pressure, there is resistance, there are walls put up when it comes to change. But to really provide your guests and residents Quiet Luxury, at times you have to reevaluate, you have to push, you have to continue to have your foot on the accelerator and say, hey, we can do better. Our clientele deserves the very best. How can we look and redefine and turn things on their head and challenge things? There will be mistakes. There will be issues, there will be obstacles, there will be frustration, but through that comes growth. And sometimes you have to go back to the drawing board and say, hey, I took a chance, it didn't work, but I'm proud of us for taking a chance. I'm proud of us for taking a risk because now we know how to do it better. Let's go back to the drawing board. Let's get the team together. Let's determine on how we're going to move forward as a team. And let's continue to push that change so that we can provide that Quiet Luxury. Back to the basics, focusing on fundamentals. Successful sports teams, basketball analogy, practice layups, they practice drills, they practice suicide run-ins, they practice shooting free throws, they practice shooting threes, right? It's the same in food and beverage operations. Doesn't matter if you're front of the house or back of the house. The fundamentals of service, diamond dining training are the same. The fundamentals of back of the house execution are the same. Your knife cuts, your sauce making, your protein fabrication, all of these things need to be emphasized, and you have to have a foundation before you can start taking risks. I always define recipes as a creative endeavor that provides kind of guardrails on a highway. So when you are following recipes, you don't want to be completely restrained and not able to express yourself from a culinary standpoint. You want to use those to make sure that you're staying inside of these lanes, right? If it calls for chives, I can substitute green onions. I can substitute leeks. I can substitute caramelized shallots. I probably can't substitute strawberries because that doesn't make sense. That would crash me out of the guardrails, right? So back to the basics, focusing on fundamentals. It's the same with front of the house training. The elements of beverage service, the elements of coffee service, wine service, tea service, fundamentally, they need to be executed before you can push those quiet luxury things throughout your operation. If you don't understand the differences between green tea and oolong tea and black tea and flowering teas, you can't call your tea purveyor and provide a full tea service where I can come and show my clientele what we can offer, because those different variations in service are going to increase your bottom line. They're going to provide you the opportunity to bring more resources into your restaurant, into your hotel, into your country club. But first, you need to understand the basics of what that tea service is, or that wine service, or that coffee service, so that you can provide that quiet luxury to your clientele. And practice menu restraint. Overabundance is going to kill quiet luxury. When I go to certain restaurants and they've got a menu and it's 45 different menu options, it's paralysis by analysis. I don't know what I want. Do I want the fish? Do I want the pork? Do I want the chicken? Do I want vegetarian? Do I want... It gets to be too much. But when you go to a spot and they got 8 hard-hitting menu items, and they say, hey, these are the 8 that we do the best, and these are 8 that truly exemplify the talents, the abilities, and the skill sets of the back of the house team, our front of the house knows how to speak to them. They know what substitutions may or may not be made. They know what wines to pair with those, because they've been drilled, just like shooting layups, just like shooting threes, just like running suicide drills, into the front of the house's team, and they can describe the different elements of them, as well as some of my back of the house staff. So it's very, very important that we focus on menu restraint so that we can feature higher quality ingredients at a premium point, and we don't get lost in all of this menu options. So practice menu restraint when it comes to quiet luxury. Another free luxury here, quiet luxury, that I'd like to talk about today are morel mushrooms. So this is something to me that just screams quiet luxury. If you were to ask me what one of the most luxurious ingredients in my arsenal, in my repertoire are, I would say morel mushrooms. These are grown in the Midwest. You can find them all over the nation at certain times of the year. But to me, the reason these are so luxurious is because of nostalgic reasons. My dad, my grandpa, we grew up foraging these. And to me, it was just mushroom hunting. You know, we used to call it grown-up adult Easter egg hunting. And I have been blessed to go out with my best friend in Missouri and in Oregon and experience that as well. So I am passing on those quiet luxury ingredients and passing the baton and hopefully lighting fire and inspiration and passion with him. And these didn't cost me a single dime. I picked these this morning. I didn't pick them. I kind of replanted them for the purposes of this presentation. But it's something that is comparable to almost a truffle in Europe or in Italy. These are hyper seasonal. You got a season of about 2 weeks on these. They are extraordinarily guarded. So people that have spots that are fruitful year after year, protect them like little guarded family secrets, and won't give up their location of where they're going to go forage for them at. They are extraordinarily perishable. The second you pick them, they start deteriorating in quality. So these are very similar to some of the Italian truffles. And if you look, they're very easily identifiable. Luxury like that has no season. That's absolutely beautiful. On the topic of truffles, another quiet luxury ingredient that invokes a sense of transcendence are black truffles. So these are last of the year, fresh winter black truffles that we've had flown in for the demonstration today. A dear friend of mine, Olivia, at Urbani Truffles in New York, gifted us with those. They were on the last flight out of New York. These are the last ones you can get of the year. And it's ingredients like that that truly invoke a sense of luxury. and our Bonnie does fantastic job. Olivia is the GOAT when it comes to sourcing fresh white and black truffles and truffle-related accoutrements. They've got a new truffle cream cheese out now. It's cut with pecorino. It's fantastic. But it's ingredients like that, that when they enter the room, there is this sense of luxury. There is this reverence. There is this respect for that ingredient and everything that went into sourcing and foraging it. There are certain tools that are specifically designed for these. So this is a truffle carving tool that is specifically designed for utilizing on those truffles. And ingredients that have specific tools for them, there is almost a reverence to it. There is a respect. There is a technique. You have to train these things. You have to develop your front of the house and back of the house teams to have the appreciation for these ingredients to have them in your operations. On the East Coast, when I was working with truffles, they were kept in a safe every night, tucked in arboreal rice. They would come out of the safe, they would be weighed, they would go to service. Every slice on the mandolin, they knew exactly specifically the weight of the slice. When those truffles came back into the office in the end of the night, they would be weighed, it'd be back checked against the sales report to make sure that the front of the house staff was appropriately serving those truffles and not misusing them. So it is the appreciation and the reverence for those specific ingredients that make it fun, that make it awesome, that make it luxury. And it doesn't scream, right? When the truffles enter the room, it doesn't need a smoke and a gold DGG briefcase. People understand, even if you never have had truffles before, the importance of those ingredients and how wonderful they are to have featured to our dining clientele. Another one of those ingredients, caviar. So this is from my dear friends at Sir Nikolai. That is crown jewel caviar. It is some of the best caviar that I can source. And once again, similar to the truffles, there are certain ingredients and certain tools that you have to use when serving caviar. So this is a 24 karat gold mother of pearl spoon. And the reason that mother of pearl is used is because it imparts no metallic flavor or off taste when serving that caviar. So more expense invested into my tools required for serving, more training for my front of the house staff. But the quiet luxury when a plate of caviar walks in the room, there's almost a silence that falls over the entire dining room. And oh, what's that? Oh my God, they got the caviar. There is a almost theatrical element to it. So it's ingredients like that that I truly love working with, and they have taken quite a bit of time to be able to allow me the opportunity to work with, right? There are levels to it. I need to know how to do all the fundamentals, the layups, the three throws, the running the drills before I'm allowed to even get in the same room as those ingredients. Early in my career, when I was learning to roll sushi, I was learning from a dear friend, and I said, well, I want to start learning how to do it. And he goes, well, first you got to make the rice. I go, how long do I got to make the rice for? He goes, 1 year. And I go, a year? He goes, yeah, because that way I know how you can do it perfectly. And I go, okay, what do I do after I learn the rice making techniques? He goes, well, then I'll teach you about the fish and how to cut the fish. And I go, but when do I get to roll the sushi? He goes, year 4 or year 5, depending on how proficient you are at these tasks. And I said, what? So the same is true about the caviars and the black truffles. You need to learn the appreciation, the respect, the technique, how to work with these particular ingredients that invoke a sense of transcendence, quiet luxury, before I'm allowed somebody to just go ham-fisted out there in the front of the house. Show me that you have the reverence for them. Show me that you have the appreciation for them, and then I'll teach you about them. I'll show you how to source them. I'll show you how to appreciate them. I'll tell you the story. I'll help you get lost in the romance as well. And once again, quiet luxury is not an ingredient. It's a vibe. It's a feeling. It's a sense that we as culinarians are blessed to be able to provide. Anticipating the guest's needs without them ever even knowing. A super high in quality ingredients and focusing on buying less, but buying better. So that's my quiet luxury, waxing poetically about what it means to me. Let's do some food. So for today, I wanted to showcase and demonstrate a couple of these ingredients. This technique was shown to me early in my career, and it can be served anywhere from a brunch get together for a wedding reception or a bridal shower, all the way up to some of the finest dining restaurants in the world. And it starts with a simple avocado. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a blue crab stuffed avocado that we finish with some fresh winter black truffles that we got from Urbani and Olivia. And we're gonna put a dollop of that crown jewel caviar from Sir Nikolai right on top. So before we start, I'm gonna start building my crab salad. This is just some lump blue crab out of Maryland. Port Huron helped us source this today. So thank you to the good folks at Port Huron. And I'm just gonna keep this as simple and as basic as possible. So I've got about 1.5 cups of Duke's mayonnaise here that I'm gonna add to our crab meat. And I'm not gonna bang it up. I'm gonna just lightly fold, like if I was folding in a chantilly or a sponge cake batter, just lightly folding all those elements in there. So I'm respecting the integrity of that crab meat, and I'm not beating it up, I'm not bruising it, I'm not altering the flavor profile of it. I've got about 1 cup of small diced celery, just to give us a little body to it, a little vegetal undertone, to help add a little bit of complexity, to add a little crunch, a little bit of texture to our dish. So just lightly folding that crab meat in with that celery and that mayonnaise. I've got some Meyer lemon. A lot of my colleagues give me a hard time because I am a big advocate of utilizing Meyer lemons. I love them. The flavor, the smell, the citrus undertone that they add to my dishes. I think that citrus is an often underutilized ingredient in our kitchens that having a better working understanding with as chefs can truly help add depth to some of our kitchens, the ingredients that we make, and the recipes that we feature to our clientele. I've got some chive, some fresh cut chive. I'm keeping it back this far in case some of you have followed the Reddit controversy over the chive cutting. I don't want anybody to judge me by my chives. So they're not bad. They're not bad. So we got a little chives that I'm incorporating into our crab salad, a little Old Bay. And once again, follow whatever recipe you like. Follow the ratio, and as long as you stay within those guardrails on the highway of things that make sense, make it your own. Customize it, curate it to what you like and how your preferences are. The cool thing about doing this is maybe I didn't want lemon today. Maybe I wanted lime. Maybe I wanted grapefruit to try things up a little bit differently. Maybe as opposed to putting chive in there, I put parsley or fresh cut tarragon or a different herb that I find a better liking to. Put dill in there. Customize and change the recipe to your own to really make it yours and an expression of your talents and your abilities. And that way, the person who or guests who are blessed with receiving your product get to see that quiet luxury, get to show you showing some of your talents and abilities to show how much love and appreciation you have and you're bestowing it upon them through your food. So we've got our very basic crab salad going. I'm going to take my avocado and I'm going to cut it in half. We are all trained culinary professionals, so I won't go into many of the details, but when I'm doing this demonstration for home parties or get-togethers or resident cooking demonstrations, talk about how you pick an avocado. Talk about how the firmness, talk about where they come from, talk about the differences between Hass avocados and other varietals of avocados. Talk about how you have a hard time getting them right now with them coming up from Mexico, whatever you want to talk about, but just to kind of fill that time, I'll take the avocado, split into it, just like we always do, and remove the seed. After that, I'll scoop all 4 of those avocado halves out. You know what? I've got a couple extra guests with us in the room today that are blessing me with their time, their most important and precious gift that they have on this planet. So I'm going to cut one more so I can have enough for everybody's time with us today. And the way you're going to want to cut these avocados is very similar to that of a sushi chef. So this, I cut them horizontal or vertically in fine and consistent cuts. And I'm going to demonstrate that on this board over here. That way I can fan them out and create a crevasse that I can fill my crab salad into. And if I do it right and I roll these up, it'll look like almost a California roll. If I had a sushi roll and had a California roll, and you've got that beautiful fanned out avocado on top. So I've split them just like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take an offset spatula and I'll top them down and just tap them so they naturally fan out. And then I'm going to put them on some parchment as I roll them up. My apologies, not parchment, plastic wrap. So I've got my plastic wrap here. I'm going to invert the avocado as I flip. Using a knife or a small offset, I'm going to flip it as I set. And then I'm just going to gently press down with my knife. So what that's going to provide me the opportunity to do, as I Vanna White this up for the camera, is I've got it fanned out right there, and I've got a crevasse right there that I'm going to fill with my jumbo lump blue crab salad. When I'm doing these, if I've got a party coming over, or if I've got guests at the house, I'll take a little vinaigrette. Traditionally, I use a champagne vinaigrette, and I'll spritz that plastic wrap before I set my avocado down. That's going to add some acidity to my avocado to prevent it from oxidizing. So it buys me a couple hours in the refrigerator if I wanted to make these ahead and have them ready as my guests come over. One of the tricks I've learned through the years is to pierce the avocado very carefully and just pierce that plastic wrap so that when I clench up on the avocado, you can kind of see that beautiful fanned out presentation that it provides there. And gives me the opportunity to make a couple knife cuts on this heirloom tomato and plate in this manner. So I'm going to cut a little bit of this tomato and I'll show you the plating of it. That tomato adds a little bit of acidity, it adds a little brightness, and turns this into a dish that could be served at a higher end brunch, at a lunch get together, at almost anything that I wanted to feature a smaller, more quality ingredient focused dish, as opposed to being excessive and big. This isn't something that's going to fill you to the point where you're like, oh, I'm uncomfortable and stuffed. So if you can see, that's that avocado fanned out with the jumbo lump blue crab salad in it. I've got my heirloom tomatoes. I generally default to champagne vinaigrette. I like the flavor profile and the complementary nature that it has with the crab. Kind of cuts through that fat in all the right ways. Now, here's where it turns in from being a pretty nice dish to a very luxurious, emphasized quiet luxury dish with the help of some of our beautiful black truffles and caviar that we'll be adding to the top of there. So once again, using the truffle slicer, I'm going to add a few slices of black truffle to that. And if I'm teaching my front of the house staff to do this table side, they'll be able to really have that theatrical component to the presentation. I have my mother of pearl spoon that I'm going to add a pretty healthy dollop of my caviar to the top of this avocado. And then for garnishes, I've got a few edible flowers. So I'll add a single edible flower there. And I've got a little bit of smoked paprika that I'll add just for a touch of color. And just a touch of lemon zest to brighten the whole dish just a little bit. So that is an example of my blue crab stuffed avocado with fresh winter black truffles, crown jewel caviar, heirloom tomato, and champagne vinaigrette. Quiet luxury at its finest. In a dish that's not screaming for attention. It's not lost in the noise. It's not saying, hey, look at me, I'm all the things, with smoke and mirrors and lasers and this and that and the other. It's just something that's raw craft that's been handed down through the generations that exemplifies luxury and really emphasizes technique, quality ingredients, and appreciation for some of the traditional elements of what we've been taught as culinarians. So I'll hand it back over to Kiwi and stay luxurious.
Thank you, Chef. That was incredible. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
So at this time, if anyone has any questions for Chef and everything that we got to learn today, please feel free to put it in the chat and we will get those answered. I do have a few questions for you, Chef, and please remember, if any of these are repeats or feel like you've already hit on them, sometimes, and we just like another round of it. So just answer them at your leisure as you can. So
I've got more jokes too. If anybody needs another joke, let me know. I can no.
We'll see. We'll see how they're feeling. All right. So our first question is, quiet luxury is one of ACF's featured trends for 2026. Why do you think quiet luxury is regaining popularity?
Because everything's been bombarded on us as chefs so much, it becomes exhausting, right? It becomes lost in the noise. It becomes to the point where we're like, I just want to get back to the fundamentals. I want some reprieve. I want to be able to express my talents, my training, my ability, and my skill sets through things that don't require me doing one of these at all times, So I think getting back to our roots and focusing on the traditional techniques, the old school way that our forefathers and the mentors that came before us and passed them down through the generations are doing. I think it's very important to capitalize and highlight that. And I think that quiet luxury is a way that we can really kind of get back to our roots.
Absolutely. So kind of leaning towards that, right? If you were looking for a quiet luxury dining experience of your own, one thing you would expect from the chef, the serving team, or establishment that you feel is often overlooked?
The education component of it. I want to be able to ask my front of the house staff questions that they're well versed in answering. Questions that I know the chef or the front of the house manager or the general manager has taken time to train them with, and to tell the story and to tell the appreciation for the fundamentals. And if I ask my server, hey, where's this salmon from? And they say, I don't know, that doesn't show me quiet luxury. If I say, hey, where's this salmon from? And they say, oh my God, it's from Westeros. It's in Scotland. And it's a loch that comes in and there's a natural body of water flowing through this loch. And the salmon are aqua harvested there in a very sustainable way. And the water on the backside of it flows out to the ocean. So it's a constant source of fresh water that comes in. And they're feeding them a very sustainable protein source that can be proven and tracked. And it's the best thing for them. It's incredible. And I see that passion. And I see that excitement and I'm like, wow, whoever trained you guys took their time to do it right. And they invested the energy in you to make you better stewards of this organization.
And now I'm ready for that meal. So awesome. Perfect. We do have a question from our audience. How do you incorporate, excuse me, quiet luxury into concepts like supper clubs?
Supper club. I've got a brother in Minnesota, and supper club's a big thing up there. I think tableside touches would be a place that I start. And it doesn't have to be big, glamorous cherries jubilee with fire and cinnamon as it sparks up and creates this big show. It can be something as simple of a tableside guacamole. Um, Hot dish is a big thing up in supper clubs where they got tater tots and then they got ground beef mixed with cream of mushroom soup and then they garnish it with green onions and this and that and the other. Did they make their own tater tots in house? Are they grinding that ground beef from scraps of tenderloin fabrications? Tell me that story. Today at Supper Club, we've got a hot dish feature, and we, as opposed to doing our tater tots, are piping on a house-made mashed potato similar to that of a shepherd's pie. The ground beef this evening is ribeye and tenderloin scraps from our in-house meat fabrication. And tell me that story, right? The green onions are grown out back in the rooftop garden that we got. Those are the little things that don't take a whole lot of additional training, but it's telling a story through quiet luxury that connects with your clientele and your residents and your customers that makes it that much more special and intimate and appreciated. And that's what's going to keep me going back time after time after time to those organizations and those restaurants.
Absolutely. Our next question from the audience, how do you flavor the caviar?
I left the caviar unadulterated. I think that all the flavoring is blessed from the hard work that the good folks out in California at Sir Nikolai put into it. It is an incredibly monitored and an incredibly well-run aquacultured farm where they, from egg to getting the caviar, take care of these sturgeon, and they monitor the water quality and the temperatures and the way that these fish live their lives. So I think that I don't touch it. I just let it scream and speak for itself without saying a single word. And that's what quiet luxury is. You have the opportunity to be blessed with these ingredients in your arsenal. I don't want to do anything to it. I'll let the other notes emphasize and harmoniously pair with that caviar, but I don't mess it. I took a mother of pearl spoon, scooped it out of the jar, put it on the abalone shell that I serve it with, and then let it speak for itself through quiet luxury.
Awesome. So we do have a question, and I think I have to reword it. So whoever submitted the question, if I'm saying it incorrectly, please retype it so that I say it properly. Can you name a few quiet luxury, I'm going to throw in a word, items that don't cost a lot or that are low costing? I think that's
Garden grown tomatoes, still warm, off the vine, grown in my grandmother's garden, or on a porch by one of the residents here at Aberdeen. Those are luxurious, right? With the purveyors and the broadline distributors that we use, and we buy cases of 6x6 globe tomatoes and 20-pound cases, and it separates us from our food. If I have a resident that comes down and says, hey, I grew this tomato on my back porch, I have been babying this thing since it was a flower, I got 4 tomatoes this year and one of them's going to you. Game, set, match. That's one of the most luxurious things that I could possibly imagine. Going to the farmer's market, buying bruised produce. I talked to a dear friend the other day, and one of the things that he used to do in his restaurant is he'd go make relationships with the farmers and the purveyors at the farmers markets, and he'd ask for their bruised or damaged fruit at a discounted rate. And they said, we're not even going to sell this stuff. You can just have it. And he was gifted bushels of apples and pears and strawberries and things of that. He'd take them back to his restaurant and he'd make infused teas or simple syrups or frozen popsicles using this bruised fruit that people couldn't sell at the farmers markets, and increasing the revenue, increasing the money that came into his restaurant off of scraps that were discarded that nobody would even want in the first place. So it's things like that. It's the age-old tale that if I grow a tomato and it's perfectly symmetrical and uniform in color and beautiful and has no flavor whatsoever, I can sell it all day long. But if I get a tomato and it's a little bumpy and it looks a little like it's got one of those on the bottom, but it's chock full of flavor that's absolutely extraordinary. Nobody wants to buy it, right? So garden grown tomatoes from my residence, or simple syrups made off of bruised fruit that were given away for free at the farmer's market, that you're making crafted teas or popsicles or amuse bouches from the kitchen. Those are quiet luxury ingredients that hardly cost you a dime, but can really help promote quiet luxury in your establishments.
Great. We've got a couple more questions if you're up for it.
For sure.
When we think of senior dining, we often think of nutrition and food as medicine, but not exactly luxury. What are some ways that you incorporate quiet luxury as a chef working in senior living? And caveat to that, if a chef was interested in senior living, not working in that segment before, kind of tying all that in, how would you, like, what kind of advice would you give?
Excuse my language, but senior living is one of the sexiest segments in the industry right now.
You heard it here.
It is the wild west of creativity, of research and development. I have a resident population here that are near and dear to my heart, like I can't describe, right? If you have a restaurant, you have regulars that come in, you might see them once a week. You might see them once a month. Here, my residents that are that we're blessed to serve in our dining rooms, you get to know their names, you get to know their grandchildren, you get to know their stories, you get to know what they've done in their lives. And it's very important to make sure that we promote quiet luxury as often as we can in our dining room. I have a background in healthcare, working in healthcare facilities, so I do perceive food as medicine. It is the fuel that we nourish our bodies with that helps give us the sustenance to go out and do our everyday activities or things that are required of us. And I want to promote that to my residents as well. So some of the things that we do is very similar to when French gastronomy switched from being classic French to more nouvelle cuisine, which is stripping the butters, stripping the creams, stripping the fats. But you want to replace those flavors. So those flavors are replaced with citrus notes, certain herbs, certain spices. We have to be mindful of the spice Scoville unit that we use here, but introducing our residents to new spice blends that they might be unfamiliar with. Chinese 5-spice, a sriracha powder that's not too forward in its Scoville units, muddled herbs, chimichurris, things of that nature, where I'm replacing different ethnic ingredients, approaches, or technique with things that they may be unfamiliar with. And sometimes it's not received very well. But often people are intrigued and they're interested. And they say, well, chimichurri, tell me about that. Now, it's a condiment that is served with gaucho-style Argentinian steaks. And they go, huh, I never really thought that I'd like that. What else can it go on? Well, try it on a good, beautiful char-grilled ribeye. And now, as opposed to getting a classic Béarnaise sauce, which is butter, egg yolks, tarragon reduction, I'm replacing those fats and those elements with a much more nutrient-dense chimichurri sauce. And using Stealth Health to incorporate more health and wellness into the senior living population that my team and I are blessed to serve, without saying, hey guys, I'm going to serve you more health food, because then they're going to go, no, not going to happen. But if I educate them and I explain the process and I say, hey, this is kind of cool, take a chance with me, take a risk with me, they're much more apropos to try those certain things and maybe find something that they like. I've also been blessed to be married to a dietitian, so she keeps me in line too pretty well.
See, you got it right there. Very good. We are getting ready to wrap up, but I want you to give everyone out in the audience that is maybe never heard of ACF, maybe has, maybe never competed before, maybe having an interest. I want 3 words that you can describe ACF competitions. Go.
Ooh. Impactful, accelerating, and educational.
Love it.
Yeah. It's
Love
been
it,
one
love
of the
it.
most incredible opportunities I've had. Shame on me for not getting more involved earlier in my career, but as of recently, I've kind of jumped in with both feet, and the energy I've invested into it has been returned to me tenfold with the education, the development, and the way I am a better chef for my teams, the residents that I serve, and the people I'm blessed to interact with on a daily basis.
Love it. Thank you. And thank you to Chef Robert Grotha for a very informative presentation. We appreciate you taking the time to share your important insights on quiet luxury. Please, everyone, be on the lookout for the post-webinar email that you'll receive in the next day or so, which will include the webinar recording, the survey link to earn your CEH, upcoming webinars, and additional resources. If you don't want to wait to take your CEH survey, stick around to the end of this webinar to be directed to the survey form and complete it early. We hope you'll join us May 20th as Chef Brian Hay will be sharing the importance of tea for chefs in honor of May's trend. And then on May 27th, Swinchers will be presenting a webinar on preventing heat stress in the kitchen. Visit the media tab on acfchefs.org to register for upcoming webinars. On behalf of the ACF National Office, thank you again to our presenters for bringing us this opportunity. And thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to register for our national convention. Have a great day.
Shout out to ACF Chefs de Cuisine in St. Louis.